Huh. Well, after seeing this, I can honestly say I don't think I care if the tower gets destroyed. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna blame Peter Jackson for this. Prior to the release of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, no one ever thought that big, epic literature like this was possible. And then we got The Lord of the Rings. Then we got The Hobbit. Now we have Game of Thrones. And now we have The Dark Tower. Two of those things are good. But yeah, up until now, shooting these massive epics that take multiple books to tell the stories of all these characters and intricate plot lines, you can't cram it into a 90-minute movie, people. Anyway, sorry. So, The Dark Tower is directed by Nikolaj Arcel and stars Idris Elba, Matthew McConaughey, and newcomer Tom Taylor. And it's about the Dark Tower, which sits somewhere in the middle of everything and supports literally the universe. If the tower falls, the world goes to shit, and the demons from the other side come through the portal and they destroy everything. And that sounds really cool. It sounds so simple. Protect the tower from the bad guys. Like, it's that simple. But it's so boring. Oh, man. So, I went and saw this last night with a bunch of my friends. And I sat down willingly accepting that I knew nothing about the Dark Tower. I know it exists. I've read maybe the first 100 pages of the very first book, The Gunslinger, and to my knowledge, and now confirmed, this is not an adaptation of The Gunslinger. And I just kind of accepted the fact that I'm not going to get a lot of the references, all of those things that you see in like the Marvel movies, the little nods to other characters and things like that. I was just not going to get that. And I accepted that. I just went in wanting to see a cool action flick, and that's what I was hoping to get, and while parts of it are good, it just falls really flat. So the Dark Tower is comprised of 8 books and several offshoots, several standalone stories, several comic books and video games, and it also seems to connect all of Stephen King's work. All of his books are somehow connected back to this Dark Tower universe. And it's an ambitious project at best. Like I said, a couple years ago, shooting something like this would have been thought impossible. And when I saw that first trailer, I got really hyped because it looked really, really cool. But now that I've seen it, and I'm just wondering, where did it all go? Am I missing something? I really don't know about this one, guys. I walked out just feeling more confused and wanting more, but not knowing more of what. So, Idris Elba plays Roland the Gunslinger. What a gunslinger is, not really sure, but he carries guns, and he's trying to track down Matthew McConaughey, the Man in Black, who is a sorcerer with all kinds of cool verbal magics. He can say, "Stop breathing," and you're dead. It's really kind of neat, actually. And he is on a mission to destroy the tower, and he's kidnapping children from our Earth, Keystone Earth, as it's called in this reality, and hooking them up into this giant machine and using it to shoot a giant beam of light at the Dark Tower in hopes to destroy, which is causing earthquakes on the other, in other realities. And that's where we meet Jake Chambers, played by Tom Taylor, who has been having visions of all of this happening. He's having visions of the Gunslinger, of the Man in Black, of the Dark Tower, and that's where he kind of comes into the story, is that he's pulled into this war that's been raging for God knows how long, and it's up to him to try and find Roland, the Gunslinger, and help him defeat the Man in Black. I'm not going to dig too deep into story to plot here because, I hate doing spoilers, but unfortunately for this movie, with 8 books to pull from, and they have sort of done an amalgamation of all 8 books. Apparently they pulled elements from each of the books into making this movie. The story is just painfully simple. It's just good guy teams up with a little kid who has the power of Deus Ex Machina to find the bad guy and save the day. Like there's it's so surface level, and that's really it. And it's not even like an engaging version of the hero's journey. It's just not. So let's focus on things that I did like, though. Let's focus on the positive here. Idris Elba. Who knew this guy could play a cowboy? It is he is just stone cold cool. You know, every time he gets to like do the whoosh with his coat and he pulls the guns out and all that. It's all very, very cool, and he plays it off really, really well. And there's this notion of what the gunslinger actually is. You know, how he's the last one, and how they, you've seen in the trailers. I do not shoot with my hand; I shoot with my eye. The man who shoots with his hand has forgotten the face of his father. And there's this really cool underlying mythology of the gunslingers that just is never explored, unfortunately. You know, it's revealed that the guns that Idris Elba's character Roland is carrying are made from Excalibur. Like, how cool does that sound? Tell me more about these Excalibur guns. Ah, jeez. And so the gunslinging is very cool. There's the great scene that you've seen in the trailers where he's focusing on a henchman who has captured Jake, and he's taking him to meet the man in black. And his eyes are closed, and he's listening, and his gun is down by his side. And you can just tell that he's closing out all other distractions until finally he raises his gun and pulls the trigger and shoots through like 15 different objects and just nails the guy in the head. It's so cool. And watching him like do the quick reload actions and stuff, like it's parts of this movie when he's doing the gunslinging thing is really, really cool, and I wanted to see more of that, but this movie is so bogged down with heavy exposition that when we get to see it, it's very fleeting. It's only going to last for a few minutes. The world itself also, I reminded myself of watching Valerian a couple weeks ago, where we get to see all of these great things, and I just want to know more about them. Where does this village that the gunslinger and the kid visit to get to use a portal to get back to Keystone Earth? What happened to the world? Why are there just decrepit theme parks everywhere? What has happened to this world? What is the Dark Tower? I wanted to know more about this world, and there were times where I just wanted to like pause the movie and turn to my friends and go, "What's that? Who are they? Why are they doing this thing?" I wanted to know more. And I think that's the best thing I can say about this movie is that I walked out of the theater with just this insatiable urge to know more about this universe. So I know that there is a revised version of the first book, The Gunslinger. I'm going to go track that down. I'm going to read this because I really want to know what the hell's going on here, because the premise is so cool. I just wish we got to see more of that, and that's the biggest problem with this movie, is that I had no idea what was going on. I have no idea what Matthew McConaughey's motivation as the Black Man in Black is to find these kids, to destroy the Dark Tower and wreak hell on, all the worlds. I don't know why he's wanting to do that. Again, the story is just so basic. Good guy finds the Deus Ex Machina kid, fights the bad guy, saves the day. There's got to be more to it than that. The kid himself, Tom Taylor, I just don't think he's a very good actor. I don't know him from anything else, but my goodness, this kid is annoying. And when you give a kid who's annoying the power of Deus Ex Machina, I have a real problem with that. It also felt like it wanted to be an R movie. There, like the shootouts where we get to see Idris, do all the gunslinging. One in particular towards the climax of the film, where he is pinned down by 100 dudes, something like that. You just want him, and he does the gunslinging again, where he focuses in on, and there's the moment where he catches everybody, and they're like in the midst of reloading and trying to realign their sights, and he just pops out, and it's bow, 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 bow. It's so freaking cool. Again, the gunslinging, again, probably the best part of the movie next to the world, but it's always cutting away from those shots. It's almost like watching, like a 90s cartoon where as soon as somebody shot a gun, it had to cut away, and so you never actually saw a bullet hit. And so I have to wonder, I think back to like a movie like The Matrix, the very first Matrix, with that massive lobby shootout. That could have been this movie's version of that if we had just gotten to see all the glorious violence here, and these books are dark. Like, these are not for children, I don't think. So, and if if I'm wrong here, definitely let me know. But it feels like this wanted to be a really hard R-rated movie and just let it go nuts with everything. Apparently, there's all of the things that they hint at. Hints at a much darker tone and more darker elements, and I wish we'd gotten to see that. And it led me to believe, again, that there might just be an R version out there, a much longer cut, that does restore a lot of the violence, that restores a lot more of the story. And while all the exposition that we do get in this movie about the gunslingers and the face of my father, and you see all these things happen, and there's all this exposition, but it doesn't lead to anything. So it makes me believe that yes, at some point we will get a longer director's cut that is that hard R rating, and that might be just the better version of this. And that's my biggest hope here, is that we do get a better version of this. And like I said, I'm going to go and try and find the revised version of The Gunslinger. I want to read that. I want to find out more about this and possibly read more about this world. But it's unfortunate that this might just be the only shot we get to see for a Dark Tower movie. When I walked in with my friends to the theater, we were the only ones in there for like a good 15 minutes. And it was up until the trailer started, wrapping up, that people started wandering in. So I just don't know if this movie is going to have the impact that they really wanted to tell this story on a big screen. And the story's there. I truly believe that. But the way that it is, it just falls really flat. And that's unfortunate. So what I can boil this down to as, if you are a massive fan of The Dark Tower, you will most likely walk out disappointed. A lot of my friends who have read the books walked out disappointed, and they said, oh, there were like those hints of these greater things going on, but it let them down entirely. And as a casual fan or a fan of just movies in general and wants to go see a cool action flick, you will also be let down. But you might walk out with a sense of, well, I kind of want to know more about that, but you don't really quite care if you ever get to see that. And that is the worst thing you can have happen for a movie that wants to be the kickoff of a franchise, not wanting to see any more of it. So that's The Dark Tower, guys. I wanted this to be good. I really did. It's a cool franchise. I can tell it's there. I'm excited to learn more about it, but this is just not the movie that this story deserved. And that's really unfortunate. So I'm going to give this one a hard pass, guys. Sorry. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. We're going to be back this weekend with another DC animated movie review. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate it. Thanks for watching.